just going to say how exciting it is that we have more choices thanks to Wolvic being on the scene now. And I really look forward to all the updates as it gets onto more devices and continues to grow. And I'm particularly interested to hear you talk more about the multi-core stack you have. But before I turn this over to you for your presentation, you're the developer advocate for Igalia. Please tell us what a developer advocate is.
Sorry, the connectivity keeps freezing for me. Did you ask me what is a developer advocate?
I did. And we can hear you. Go for it.
Okay. Hopefully you can hear me okay. It's a really interesting question. If that was the question, the answer differs from company to company, and Igalia is pretty unique already. So I'm not sure that my answer is entirely like else's, but I think a good general answer to the question is that we sort of help find the path. Lots of teams who are often disjointed, completely disconnected, even that speak even different technical languages in terms of their background and everything. That's sort of on both ends, like the need for standards and their use cases and the problems that they're experiencing, that into standards and implementations and things, and then helping developers understand when features have arrived and that they're available and how they're useful. The broader community. For me, I think really it is about community, and so like I'm on at Igalia a number of working groups in W3C, even a co-chair of one. I'm part of some committees and boards, and I'm active in even public developer groups like OpenUI, where we work together with library makers. Also, given the unique sort of role that Igalia plays, I also write and speak a lot about the larger ecosystem and why it's important.
Thank you. Can you still hear me okay? You can't.
No.
If you
for just a moment.
Do you have the ability to switch to Ethernet? Is it possible that your Wi-Fi could be lagging? Because if you're about to give a presentation, we can actually hear you fine, but if you can't hear me, we're out of sync. So I'm going to turn this over to you. I hope you can hear me. And then you can just start speaking to your presentation. So I'm going to turn myself off and turn your presentation on.
Excellent. Is my screen, and confirm that you can see my screen, because I see the screen share, but it does not look like it's enabled. Excellent.
We can see you.
Yeah. So I'm going to talk to you about the vision of Wolvic and tell you how we're going to get there. I know a lot of people have this question in their mind about Igalia. We're familiar with a lot of the other browser vendors, but Igalia is sort of new to a lot of people. So we have goals. We've shared the roadmap, and we have high-level goals and abstract goals and concrete technical goals. But mainly, we want to establish an open source browser across devices for these XR devices. We have set a goal of 2 million plus users by the end of 2023. We think that sounds reasonable on at least these 4 devices. We'll talk more about why these specific ones, but in the large, Igalia ultimately wants to be successful. We need concrete plans for how to get there, but we want to ensure that the web and its principles of openness and privacy and security and accessibility remain important. Device agnosticism. And we believe that to do that, we need to make our users increasingly happy. And we believe that to do that, we also need to make developers happy. To do any of this, we need to help it to pioneer and improve the standards that make WebXR especially appealing to bring to these devices. So concretely, though, we want so much. We want AR support and hand tracking and eye tracking and keyboard and peripheral support and UX improvements and DX improvements and integrations. We want extensions and more devices. It's just so much because the we is everyone. And so, how do we get there? I mean, yes, we're an open source project. So, in theory, anybody can help along, whether that means reporting issues or requesting features. Even in simpler ways like helping with translations, we're available in many, many languages. Or, yes, helping fix bugs or submitting feature pull requests. All of that is awesome and welcome. But in practice, when we talk about the web, the three main projects, it's WebKit, Chromium, and Gecko. Still, while it's way better than it used to be, where Microsoft was on the hook for 100% of it, 75 to 80% of commits are from the steward org themselves, and it costs them hundreds of millions of dollars to do annually. I point this out because the whole world depends on these projects, and very much is resting on these very few organizations for this large financial commitment that only 3 organizations are willing to do. And that part of it is ultimately kind of unsustainable. There is no company in the history of the world that has ever lasted forever. And then what happens? It means we're centralizing a lot and we're placing a lot of dependencies. And when you talk about this, one thing that we don't talk about enough is that the supporting income, either directly or indirectly, that makes this really plausible, very directly in the case of Mozilla, is almost entirely from search revenue. And sure, that's okay. It's how we got here and everything. But there's something that's like kind of gross about it in a lot of ways. And aside from being gross, is also this kind of paradox because the one foundation that we have here, 95% of their income is directly from search revenue. And that's great. It's kept Mozilla alive, but it means that it is also really, really easy to lose users and therefore lose funding. And it is almost impossible to create another Mozilla that way. Mozilla is sort of an accident of history in this point of view because they had users already when this model was put into place. If you don't have the users, you can't tap into the revenue to get the users. So at Igalia, we imagine a better future. And we don't just imagine it, we know that it's possible. So to explain and help you understand, let me give you some background. As I said, a lot of people don't know Igalia, but Igalia is itself different. Our whole entire company is focused on this problem. Open source and free software are at the very core of our being. We're focused entirely on building healthy and sustainable open source that can do more. And what have we done with that? Well, we have a chart like this for every engine. This is the one for Chromium. I just want to show this is the commits to Chromium last year. And this giant, giant slice of orange pie on the left is commits from Igalia. Now, you can notice that it is about the total of other large partners that you're probably familiar with, Samsung, Opera, Microsoft combined. So this chart doesn't include Google's commits, but as I said, it's their commits are 75 to 80%. This chart is for WebKit, and this does include Apple, so you can see the giant slice that Apple's paying for. But 16.5% of this chart as well is commits from Igalia. And the way that we do this is through diversifying who is investing in the platform. We're an open source consultancy. There are things that people are interested in that can't get priority because the wants are everything from everyone. So we have used this to great effect to help the whole entire commons move forward. We did 2 implementations and spec work on CSS Grid. We helped move Has, which has been stuck for 30 years, MathML, which has been stuck for 20 plus years, Big Decimal, Temporal. So this is really, really great. And it is going to be part of how Wolvic is going to be different. We are a different kind of organization. So first is we're not inherently married to any of them. Firefox is tied to Gecko. Chrome is tied to Chromium. Safari is tied to WebKit. But we are building an abstraction layer in here, and we're sort of separating ourselves to a large degree from the underlying engine. We have a multi-engine architecture. We think that this is really important because it helps us separate what we're spending money on and helps us also recognize reality. The reality is that yesterday, in the recent past, Gecko was pioneering in this space. They were out ahead when they had Firefox Reality. But today, Meta, Samsung, some others invest in Chromium, and so Chromium is a bit ahead. But we know that Apple and Sony, for example, are interested in these spaces, and so who knows what the future holds. So we're also reimagining the economic model behind all this, and we're basing that on what we have had success with and what we know can work. That will be built of several different kinds of things: partnerships, contracts, collective support, and other ways to expand and diversify the funding and the inputs into decision making. So first, partnerships. We talk about partnerships in like Chromium, but this means something different. Unlike those partnerships that are just people who agree to work on the code base somehow, these partnerships are economic partnerships. So they are multi-year investments to fund and work closely together on Wolvic as a whole. The other is contracts. So looking back to the way that Igalia does a lot of its work, we believe that there is a lot of opportunity here. There are many, many devices. There are many, many like engines and libraries and things which have needs, and somebody needs to do all that work. And contracting some work on those is definitely an option that we see many possible ways to add the pie together. The final one is making the pie even bigger, right? Is collectives. I don't know if you're familiar with Open Collective. It's a brilliant idea and has been used to great effect to support lots and lots of things, all the way up to government level things. But particularly in open source. ESLint and Babel are some examples of things that are funded this way. And the idea here is that it's a little bit like Legos. Lots of small pieces add up to a medium piece. Several medium pieces equals a large piece. And you can assemble something really, really big together through lots of different channels. This is, by the way, the world's largest Lego build. It's like several million pieces. Along these same lines, another thing that we have used Open Collective for that is an even bigger scale thing is Open Web Docs. So through another accident of history, Mozilla became the owner of MDN and the funding of the documentation of the web. A few years ago, several founding members came together to create this collective called Open Web Docs. And it, through this same fashion, assembled through many, many parts funding for this. And today, Open Web Docs employs all the staff writers, and their work on MDN is funded by many, many companies and individuals. Similarly, when you collect money from many, many, many sources and everybody is asking for a priority, you need other ways to think about how we prioritize things. So Igalia did an experiment about the same time called Open Prioritization. This is also with Open Collective, and we presented 6 projects, and the community assembled funding. We got some big things, a bunch of small things, and we funded and chose one, Focus Visible in WebKit. Igalia did the work, and we shipped a new feature in the web platform. And that's awesome. So today, we're announcing the Wolvic Collective that allows anyone at any level to provide sponsorships ranging from just a few dollars to substantial amounts. You can read more about this on this page, but we're happy to announce this with initial $6K each in sponsorship from Meet Kai and Wonderland Engine. Meet Kai, you'll know as you'll recognize if you use Wolvic from the voice search. They provide a voice search engine for us that is excellent. And the Wonderland engine is used to create lots of immersive experiences. So there are some benefits to joining this. One of those is talking about how we prioritize the work. So we collect a bunch of money together. We'll meet semi-annually and talk about like how that money is spent. I think this will be really great because very often it is the case that everyone won't agree, and we need to find ways to build consensus and have common understanding here. Another thing that we'll be doing is actually giving credit. We talk about like Google Chrome or Mozilla Firefox, but Wolvic is kind of all of us, right? We have partners and sponsors and small contributors. And we want to make sure that they get credit. There are lots of reasons that big public works projects or libraries or churches are offer you like a plaque if you donate some money or something. I think this is really, really interesting, and I'm really glad that we're going to share the credit for this. I also think that it is worth doing small contributions. I don't know if they will ultimately, how much they will ultimately amount to, but I think that there is something social about this that is really, really interesting. We have never sold a browser. What we have done is subsidize a browser in many, many ways. And one way that you could subsidize a browser is through lots of people who make their living on the web and who think that the web is really important, sponsoring it to the tune of something like $5 a month. It wouldn't take that many to make a pretty large dent in this. So I do that for a lot of projects. We're also like really thinking about and open to other means. We would love to hear your ideas for this. One idea, for example, is in the environment you see here, the cyberpunk environment. You see there's lots of billboards and they all have the Wolvic logo, but they could have a movie poster or a film festival or something that we think is generally okay, general audience, and that we all can agree is like not gross or something. So that's an option, and those would be non-tracking. They would just be there and interesting, and rather than being super abundant model of ads, they would be rather exclusive ads. So we're interested to hear any ideas that you have here. And if you're interested in talking about some, definitely contact us. So thank you. That's all I have. I'm really looking forward to changing the whole world.
Thank you to the audience for staying with us. And thanks for that enlightening insight into Wolvic, Brian. So we will see you again soon.